Today we're going to be talking about ICT in the classroom and how it's worked. We're going to start with the change in development and how it's been introduced into the classroom, what it was and what it has become. Then we're going to be talking about the students and their involvement, how they're going to utilize this ICT. And also we're going to hopefully give some tips for the teachers in how to introduce it into their classrooms. How has ICT changed in the classroom? In the early 90s, we had a 1-week computer class where they'd come and they'd learn the basics of like Microsoft PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, and that wasn't quite enough now that we've seen how important it is in the classrooms. Today, technology is all throughout every classroom. We've got smart boards, we've got iPads for every student, we've got computers. All of these things are so important to the classroom today that we need to learn how to utilize them. What is super important is that we have a correct integration of ICT in the classroom. In order for this to happen, we need to not disrupt the natural flow of the class, but instead introduce new ICT ideas into the way that the classroom is run. For example, we can have blogs, kids talking about what they're learning, what they think about what they're learning, and how they're processing it in their brains. We can have management systems, such as Moodle, forums, some sort of messaging, and online submissions such as Turnitin. All of these things can help a teacher as they manage their classroom and are able to, at a glance, just check kind of how their students are progressing throughout the year. And one of my favorites is the podcasting. With podcasting, we can allow students to become familiar with their own voice and also how their inflections are and how they enunciate words. There are so many ways that we can use to engage students in their learning. For example, educational video games. This is a place where kids can learn to problem solve and they can learn to find different ways of understanding strategies or history or geography, anything like that. We've actually got a video that we can show you that introduces a student talking about his game and how he learns to solve the problems.
In this game, Flow, you have to connect all the dots without having any overlap or leaving any spaces on the board. Like that.
As you can clearly see, this student likes to look at a strategy and try and solve it just before he even attempts it. Other kids would like to have different approaches. Try it one way and see that there's a mistake and then try it another way. Both of these ways are great and it shows the teacher a lot about the way that they can problem solve and the way that they learn. The problem with iPads in a classroom is that they need to be utilized a lot more than they are. Online maths games like Mathletics, we can set students personalized tasks to do that matches their level of understanding. Classroom homework is such a thing of the past that we can just turn it into blogs and that they get excited about studying and about talking about what they're learning instead of just going over the same thing at home that they were learning at school. Setting forum posts for students to be able to do by a set date enables them to be able to process what they're learning, think about things, maybe do a little bit of extra research, and then they can post it before the end of the week, and then teachers are able to check that and make sure that they're kind of on the right path, and if they're not, then you can kind of correct them a little bit. Also, we need to remember that while iPads are such an important thing in schools, there's no substitute for learning how to have neat handwriting and learning how to write with their hands. And the last point is podcasting. Podcasting is so important because it combines a whole bunch of different things. Firstly, they're able to use programs to record their own voices. Therefore, the more they learn a program, the more they're able to learn how to solve problems, not just for that program, but such a broad amount of things. It's important for students to early on start hearing their own voice. As I'm 24 now, I still am uncomfortable with hearing my own voice, and so it makes it very difficult for me to get comfortable with recording. If they start learning that from such an early age, then they're able to get used to it and come to terms with the fact that recording isn't such a daunting thing. They need to it's important for students to become familiar with editing programs like Audacity and GarageBand, so they're able to, first of all, figure out what they need to do, and second of all, figure out how to do that. And that can be from looking at YouTube videos or figuring it out for themselves, making a mistake, learning again, making another mistake, and then learning from that as well. Teachers in ICT. The most important thing that teachers need to understand is that they need to be trained correctly in the use of things like iPads, smartboards, computers, and Apple TVs. These things are things that can be utilized in such a strong way if they're correctly taught how to use them. We can take an Apple TV and display students' work on the screensaver just in a random rotation, and students are able to look up and occasionally see their work and know that their work is valued and appreciated by their teacher. Using things like Minecraft, we can give the students a bit of free time or a bit of a reward time where they can play Minecraft, but also you can give them specific instructions like build a 16 by 16 house and try and fit as many rooms in it as possible. You can do this with maths as well. How much does 16 by 16, how many blocks do you need to build a square that big? We can introduce interactive games on smartboards where the kids can actually come up and press the buttons and figure things out for themselves and learn how to follow instructions or play games where the information might be a little bit cryptic. But the most important thing is that teachers need to have some sort of workshop, some sort of professionals coming in to teach these teachers how to utilize ICT in the classroom.